Welcome to another video on building your own Hopper 6502 single board computer. Let's talk about tools. And by tools, I mean, things that are useful to have. They're not all tools. Anyway, this is what we're going to build. And one of the things that you need is a way to connect it to your computer. And it gets its power from the serial port, from the USB port. So my preferred method is an FTDI cable like this one. And as I've mentioned before, you want to make sure that it's a 5-volt version. It says 5 volt over there, not a 3-volt version. So this FTDI cable here comes from a company called FTDI Chip. Multiple people sell them. I'll see if I can I'll put some links in the description as to where you can find them. So this is my recommended one. It's 1.8 meters long. You probably have a shorter one, 5-volt version. Failing that, let's assume you've already got one. You might already have an FTDI module like one of these. These are just fine. I far prefer the ones with the USB-C connectors. The only thing you want to be sure of is that it has the ability to be configured as 5 volts. So this one has a jumper to switch between 5 and 3.3. And this one has a switch to be able to switch between 5.5 and 3. All right. So this gets you your connectivity through your USB port. And it gets you your 5-volt power supply. Done. Next, useful thing. Chip remover. So to pull chips out. Particularly useful for extracting the CPLD, the glue logic programmable logic chip. But generally a good idea to have one of these to pull things back out the sockets. All right, I'll list that as well. I think I get this from Jamco. Whatever I can get from Jamco, I'm going to suggest you get from Jamco. Obviously, you should have decent side cutter and pliers, assuming you have a soldering iron. And a soldering iron, you want one with a thermostat, and typically we solder it around 350 degrees C. Okay, this is an interesting piece of equipment. If you're going to build Ben Eater's board, you're going to end up stripping a lot of wire and bending a lot of wire. I highly recommend getting one of these. I've been through a couple of different versions of this sort of thing, but this kind of style is the best in my opinion. All right. Now, most of us either own, if you're a serious maker, you might own your own 3D printer, or you certainly know someone who has one. So, given the opportunity to impress you and make you a gadget, you want one of these. What is this, you ask? Well, it's a pin bender for ICs. So to get the pins to be in the, when these ICs come, the pins are splayed out so they get a tight fit. But you want to bend them evenly to easily get them in the socket. And these things, once you start using one of these, you never look back. You're going to want one. So you get your mate with your 3D printer to print you one of these, and you can print a smaller one as well for the narrower chips, just to bend the pins. Very handy. Optional, totally optional, but I recommend it. Okay, you want a multimeter, right? Doesn't have to be an expensive multimeter. It's kind of nice. I like the audio feedback as an option on resistance. So, it's a continuity tester. So let's see if this makes it into the mic. So I switch the mode and it'll go in. So a continuity tester with audio feedback is nice to look for in a meter. Meter that measures capacitance. And then it's also got a frequency meter that I believe works up to about 100 kilohertz. So it's not quite that useful, but it's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. So multimeter, get one of those. Another thing that I'm going to list under tools is a microcontroller, specifically an RP2040 microcontroller. You can get one for less than $10 depending on where you get them. And these are all pretty good. So what all of these microcontrollers have in common is they have a USB-C socket. They have a reset button in addition to a boot select button. So they've all got 2 buttons on them, not one. And these are all sort of clones of the Raspberry Pi Pico. They all use the same chip, the RP2040. Most of them have NeoPixel LEDs. Many of them have a LiPo battery connector. This one's the only one with Wi-Fi, the Challenger board. Doesn't really matter which one. And I mentioned in the introductory version as to why you want one of these, because it's the same developing for these in the Hopper environment as it is developing for the 6502. So it's an easy place to get started, even long before you've built your board or before it's arrived. And many of you will already have one. As long as it's got a Raspberry Pi chip in it, the RP2040 chip, it'll work just fine with Hopper. And I will post a quick little video on using one of these as my getting started video of how you get Hopper installed on Windows and how you get started with it. Because you can do that long before your boards have arrived, long before all your parts have arrived. Very good. I think that's about all I can say about what we can put into the category of tools. Thanks for watching.